Puffy was playing with your booty in Miami.
One person who was always anti-Diddy and was always speaking about Diddy as a problematic person was 50 Cent.
He would do a lot of foul shit. Like behind the scenes, he would do some foul shit. Like, But I also didn't participate. I also didn't go to those parties. Yeah.
50 Cent didn't walk into that courtroom like a guest. He walked in like a bomb. No warning, no smile, just presence. The moment he entered, the energy shifted. Eyes locked on him. The silence was thick enough to cut. And at the defense table, Diddy looked like he'd seen a ghost. Hands trembling, jaw clenched. The king of cool, gone.
Now, Fifth, when you continuously call Puff gay, does that affect your relationships in Hollywood?
I don't call him gay. I said,
Let me read it, Fifth.
Oh my God.
Sorry I can no longer help you guys. Soon you will all be gay and happy. You are all now left under leadership of Puffy Daddy. Report to the nearest rainbow. Dinner Thieves in theaters January.
Oh, that's why he says things. He doesn't even know what he's saying is like fruity. You know what I'm saying? Like he says something fabulous and he goes, "Yo, but me and you, we ain't party. Like we need to party." What is he talking about? That's the kind of stuff that when people say that to me, I get a little uncomfortable. I get uncomfortable. Like he said something to me one time, a long time ago, at Chris Lighty's wedding. He told me he'd take me shopping. I looked at him like, what'd you just say? Let me move, man, before I do something. You're gonna make me mess up the wedding.
Oh, that's a nice gesture.
Let me get out of take me. That's what a guy says to a girl.
Did he do it, right?
Yeah.
I know you've been heavy on social media talking about it.
He did it. And I'm the only one who's been vocal about this long before it actually. But I also didn't participate. I also didn't go to those parties.
Yeah.
So a lot of the celebrity culture that you don't hear saying anything is because they participated.
Was there a reason you never went to those parties back in the day?
I'm just not with all that 50 shit. Like all of the stuff that he's doing, I'm not into that type of stuff. I'm just a little more, maybe you could say basic or normal.
For decades, Diddy controlled the narrative, built an empire on fear, charm, and media manipulation. But that one moment, that entrance, ripped his mask off in front of the entire industry. And what followed wasn't just a trial. It was the beginning of a total collapse. When 50 Cent walked into that courtroom, he didn't need to say a word. His reputation said it for him. The man who spent 2 decades publicly roasting Diddy, on air, on Instagram, in interviews, was now sitting just feet away. And for the first time in his career, Diddy couldn't control the optics. Witnesses inside the room said Diddy froze. His posture stiffened, his eyes darted toward the back. He tried to keep reading his lawyer's notes, but his hand was visibly shaking. One courtroom sketch artist said he kept turning around like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. That wasn't confidence, that was fear. And 50, he just sat there, calm, silent, arms crossed, watching, like he already knew he'd won.
And it turns out that it's just been announced that he's created a docu-series on Netflix. I can't wait to see this. The other end of that, every person who has tried to speak out about this, who has tried to speak out about the industry, the type of people that are controlling the industry, the attacks that people face from the media if they try to speak out, is always the same. They're called crazy. And an example of one such individual who went through those sorts of attacks is the actor Orlando Brown. He was on Disney, and I remember everyone telling us that he was totally insane and deranged when he was saying a lot of things that at the time sounded crazy, particularly about Diddy. Take a listen.
The requirement is you gotta say no to Diddy. If it's new booty in the building, you know he gonna get it.
Don't take your girlfriend to a Diddy party.
You can take the but he wants you.
Diddy, to me, is the fall guy. We are still seeing a major effort to protect the big names, just like with Jeffrey Epstein.
Tell him the story.
Tell him the story. So we talking about rumors, right?
Yeah.
And when you Google his name, there's a rumor that pops up that he was Diddy's boy toy.
Oh shit!
Right?
Wait, so this is
so Charlamagne said
it's not true, but I told after he brought up the stuff with you, I said, you know what 50 gonna say when he meets you?
Oh no, I don't know that was going on.
You know,
I can't wait to run into him again.
What you gonna say to him?
Puffy was playing with your booty in Miami.
You know what 50 gonna say to you when he sees you?
What?
I heard Diddy touch your butt.
Yeah. Wait till I see him. Wait till I see him. I'm like, yo. Yeah.
What's happening with Puffy? I know you're not really tapped in, but what
the last thing I saw was like a guy there. He was like, yo, he like pushed me into the truck. It really hurt. And he sounded me. Like he sounded me. I was like, yo, look. I could find other things to do for money.
The rivalry between 50.
For years, Diddy built his empire on one thing: control. Every interview, every red carpet moment, Every carefully worded statement, all of it was part of a script. He was the master of the smooth pivot. Ask him about scandals, and he'd flash that $1 million smile, adjust his cufflinks, and change the topic like nothing happened. And the public? They bought it. He wasn't just a mogul, he was untouchable. But what the cameras never showed was the machinery behind that illusion. Former staffers have said Diddy didn't just prep for interviews, he rehearsed them. He had media trainers staging fake confrontations just to test how he'd respond under pressure. His assistant once revealed that Diddy would practice his facial expressions in front of a mirror for hours. Anger, surprise, amusement, all calculated down to the blink. It worked, until now. Because in that courtroom, there were no edits, no PR teams, no bodyguards or lighting crews, just raw reality. And the cracks in Diddy's perfect mask started showing fast. Before the trial even hit full steam, the signs were there. Paparazzi caught him snapping at a fan outside his lawyer's office. At the pretrial press conference, he gripped the podium so hard his knuckles turned white. For a man who built his entire career on staying cool under fire, these small slip-ups screamed panic. And then came day 3, when the cracks turned into a full-blown collapse.
He do a lot of foul shit. Like behind the scenes, he would do some foul shit. Like hating on, like doing things with people I done business with that he done business with. He would say shit that I was like, he said that to you?
Right.
I was like, yeah, it's all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and niggas don't know what they like till they see somebody with it. So they want the girls after you're done with them and shit.
Yeah, leftovers.
Yeah.
You take your leftovers. A lot of niggas have more leftovers.
Cassie was not offended by what I was offended by. This is
wow, they found Kendrick and Wifey.
You know, that's obviously doing shopping. They got the same outfit.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
that's a nice shirt. That was a nice shirt. All right, so when he said the shopping line, in real life, what did you say?
I said, let me get away from him. Because it was like, he was like, yo, you hot now. Now we got to hang out now. Like, you know, like hang out.
Yeah.
He said, I don't know, maybe I'll take you shopping and I get you some fly shit and you can give me the hood shit. And I was looking and I was like, let me just move away from him because I'm going to mess up the wedding. I always say to myself, like,
it was someone's wedding?
It was Chris Lighty's wedding. It was in Miami. Nori's there. Nori knows this because I looked at him like, yo.
If the courtroom tension wasn't already unbearable, what happened next turned it nuclear. Just after lunch, the prosecution requested to introduce a new piece of evidence, item 47B. Diddy's lawyers immediately objected. They hadn't seen anything labeled 47B in discovery. The judge called both sides to the bench. 5 tense minutes passed as whispers filled the courtroom. Diddy sat alone at the defense table, repeatedly cracking his knuckles, eyes flicking toward 50 Cent, who hadn't moved an inch. Then the ruling came down. The evidence would be admitted. The lights dimmed slightly as screens flickered to life. The footage was grainy, silent, a hallway in Diddy's Miami residence. But what it showed didn't need audio. It screamed loud enough. Diddy stood inches from Cassie, pointing, yelling. She backed up against the wall, visibly tense. And then came the moment that made the entire room gasp. Diddy grabbed her by the shoulders, violently shook her, and shoved her to the floor. For a man who just told the court, under oath, that he had never in any instance physically assaulted Ms. Ventura, the contradiction couldn't have been more brutal. Diddy exploded. He stood up so fast his chair slammed backwards onto the courtroom floor. That's not what happened, he shouted. His attorney lunged to pull him back down, whispering frantically. But it was too late. The calm, composed image he'd spent 30 years building had just shattered in front of the jury, the judge, and worst of all, 50 Cent. And 50, still sitting there, still silent, but with the slightest, coldest smirk on his face. While Diddy tried to recover from the chaos inside, 50 Cent stepped outside and set the narrative on fire. Reporters swarmed him the moment he exited the courthouse. This wasn't just another Instagram joke. 50 wasn't trolling this time. He was calculated, calm, and deadly serious. I'm putting money behind making sure survivors get heard, he said. This isn't about me and Diddy's history. This is about right and wrong. The crowd went silent. Then came the real bombshell. 50 revealed he was personally funding Cassie's legal team through his G-Unity Foundation. But what most people didn't realize was that he'd been involved long before this moment. According to insiders close to the case, 50's team had quietly contacted Cassie's lawyers just days after she filed the lawsuit. He believed her story. He believed others would come forward, and he was ready to help them do it. And you have to understand, this wasn't just some beef from back in the day. This was two titans from the same industry, the same era, the same circles. But while Diddy relied on silence and spin, 50 was weaponizing the truth. And it was working. His social media posts exploded. Millions of views. He posted the surveillance footage from the hotel incident with Cassie in 2016, writing, "Money can't hide who you really are." That single post got over 12 million views in 24 hours. Then came more, cryptic captions, quiet threats, heavy implications. He didn't need to say Diddy's name anymore. Everyone already knew. If there was one thing Diddy always had, it was loyalty, or at least the illusion of it. For decades, celebrities lined up to party with him, to work with him, to protect him. But the moment that video dropped, and 50 Cent made his move, everything changed. The first signs came subtly. Usher, a longtime collaborator, unfollowed Diddy on Instagram. No post, no statement, just silence. Then Mary J. Blige, another Bad Boy era legend, did the same. Justin Bieber, who once called Diddy a mentor, not only unfollowed him, he deleted every photo they'd ever taken together. These weren't coincidences. These were industry power moves. And then it got louder. Lizzo posted a black screen with 2 words, "Believe women." No names, no tags, but the timing said it all. The Weeknd posted, "Power doesn't equal truth." Drake, who usually avoids drama like the plague, broke his silence. The truth always surfaces eventually. The industry was fracturing right before our eyes. Behind the scenes, it was even worse. One source close to Diddy's team revealed he'd been calling in every favor he had. Rihanna? Ignored 6 calls. Jay-Z? No statement, no response. Beyonce? Nothing. Even his legal team was scrambling. The strategy had been simple: present Diddy as the calm, reasonable businessman, unfairly accused. But now, that story was dead. Everyone in the courtroom had watched him unravel. The footage was real. The outburst was real. And his famous friends? They were vanishing faster than his PR team could spin it. The message was clear. No one was going to burn for Diddy. Not anymore. While Diddy was busy falling apart, Cassie was transforming. When she first took the stand, her voice was steady but cautious. You could tell she'd been coached, told to be careful. She stuck to the facts, kept her emotions measured. But after Diddy's meltdown, after the courtroom watched him scream, shake, and lose control, everything changed. Cassie walked back in like a different woman. Her shoulders were straighter. Her tone? Firmer. She didn't blink when Diddy glared at her. Didn't flinch when his attorney tried to twist her words. For the first time in this case, the power dynamic had flipped, and she knew it. She spoke about the fears she lived with, the manipulation, the control. She detailed how Diddy allegedly locked her in a room at his Hamptons mansion for 2 days in 2018, all because she had a conversation with another music executive. "He told me he made me," she testified, "and he could destroy me just as easily." Diddy's reaction was immediate. His face turned red, his jaw locked. His attorney placed a hand on his arm, trying to calm him down again. But it didn't matter. Everyone saw the rage. Everyone saw the control slipping, again. The judge noticed too. A note was quietly passed from the bench to Diddy's lawyer, a warning. One more outburst, and the consequences would be severe. But Cassie? She didn't miss a beat. She kept going. What stood out wasn't just her story. It was her control. She had it. Diddy didn't. The more she spoke, the clearer it became. She wasn't just recounting trauma. She was reclaiming power in the one place Diddy never expected to lose it, the public eye. And 50 Cent, still seated in the gallery, never took his eyes off her. He didn't need to say a word. His presence alone told the world, this time, she's not alone. What happened inside that courtroom didn't just damage Diddy's image, it detonated it. By the next morning, his legal team was already in crisis mode. The cool, untouchable mobile narrative was dead, and the meltdown was everywhere. Clips of his courtroom explosion were flooding social media. His name was trending, for all the wrong reasons. That's when his attorneys made their next desperate move. They filed for a mistrial. The argument? That 50 Cent's presence in the courtroom was deliberately provocative and created an unfair environment. They submitted screenshots of 50's social media posts, claiming he orchestrated a campaign to influence the jury. But the judge wasn't having it. She denied the motion within hours, stating clearly, Mr. Combs is responsible for his own behavior. It was a brutal blow, and it triggered a domino effect Diddy couldn't stop. 3 major liquor brands, ones that had once proudly partnered with him, suddenly paused their deals. Shares in Revolt, his media company, dropped by 14% in a single day. His talent agency quietly placed his representation under review. Industry insiders whispered that endorsement deals were being pulled, bookings canceled, emails going unanswered. One source said bluntly, Diddy's name has become radioactive. But it didn't stop there. With Diddy no longer looking like a powerful predator, but rather a panicked defendant, new witnesses came forward. Cassie's legal team filed to introduce 3 individuals who had previously refused to testify. Why now? Because they finally felt safe. These weren't anonymous tipsters. These were insiders, 2 former assistants and a longtime private security guard. All 3 claimed to have first-hand knowledge of behavior that, in their words, was controlling, aggressive, and manipulative. And every single one said the same thing. Diddy wasn't the man the public thought he was. He was worse. With each hour, Diddy's grip slipped further. He had spent his life buying silence, spinning stories, and staying one step ahead of the truth. But now, the truth was catching up, and it was moving fast. Diddy's empire wasn't just bleeding, it was collapsing. And 50 Cent? He wasn't done. Just days after the courtroom chaos, 50 posted a split-screen image. On the left, a sketch of Diddy mid-outburst. On the right, the security footage of Diddy grabbing Cassie. The caption? Actions speak louder than lawyers. It racked up over 3 million likes in less than 6 hours. But he wasn't just trolling anymore. He was plotting. That same week, 50 announced his latest project, a documentary series titled Music Industry Secrets. While he didn't say who the first episode would feature, no one had any doubts. The timing was obvious. The target was clear. And this wasn't just about Cassie anymore. The courtroom had cracked something bigger, a culture of silence that protected powerful men and entertainment for decades. The same blueprint used by other fallen giants: money, manipulation, intimidation. But now, the blueprint was falling apart. Behind the scenes, more industry insiders started whispering. Former collaborators, ex-employees, artists who'd been afraid to speak for years. Cassie's attorneys confirmed they'd received a wave of new inquiries from individuals willing to share their stories, now that the walls were finally coming down. Even Diddy's closest allies began distancing themselves. His calls weren't being returned. High-profile collaborators refused to issue statements. Every move he made looked desperate. Every denial sounded hollow. And through all of it, 50 Cent stayed in the cut, watching, posting, applying pressure without lifting a finger. The smirk he wore in court wasn't just satisfaction. It was a warning: I'm not finished. Because 50 doesn't just destroy reputations. He erases legacies. And Diddy's? It was already slipping into the shadows. This isn't just about one trial. This is about an empire built on intimidation finally being exposed, and the one man bold enough to tear it all down. Diddy spent decades crafting a flawless image. Untouchable, charismatic, feared. But behind the designer suits and platinum records was a man desperately hiding the truth. And the moment 50 Cent stepped into that courtroom, the illusion shattered. Cassie found her voice. Witnesses came forward. Deals crumbled. And the very industry that once protected Diddy started turning its back on him. What used to be whispered behind closed doors is now being shouted from headlines, comment sections, and court transcripts. And this is just the beginning. Because if 50's documentary delivers what he's teasing, this trial could crack open more than Diddy's empire. It could trigger a reckoning across the entire music industry. The kind that forces powerful men to answer for decades of silence, cover-ups, and unchecked behavior. So when history looks back on this moment, it won't just say that Diddy lost his cool in court. It'll say the game changed. The silence broke. And the man who used fear to build his kingdom finally met someone who couldn't be intimidated. And his name was 50 Cent. If you think this story is wild, just wait. 50 Cent isn't done, and neither are we. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next bombshell, because what's coming could drag even more names into the fire. Like this video if you think the truth always finds a way out.